All right, all right. So, welcome back to the next episode. Today, we're going to take a little turn. Misty and I are going to talk. Uh, Obviously, we talk retirement and stuff and real estate and all that great stuff. But there's one thing that does tie in to real estate, which is it's not necessarily retirement, but it's new agents, new real estate agents. And I thought this would be a great subject for us to kind of dive into. I know a lot of individuals out there who think about getting their license, when they get into they maybe think about, "Well, I'm gonna get my license first before go invest." Or they invest and they think about getting their license. And one of the there's a lot of things that go into that, and one of the hardest things they have to do is if they end up with their license is choosing a brokerage. And I thought that it'd be a great subject for Misty and I to kinda go through what a new agent can expect. Obviously, you're not going to go in with a bang and go buy a bunch of real estate as a new agent just because you got your license. But there are things you need. And this is a process that her and I went through when as investors, getting our license and what we need to do. And so, I wanted to kind of start with that. And there's three common things that we hear from new agents, when they get their license. And if you're ever deciding to get your license, it's the three things: it's training, mentoring, and leads. But I wanted to start out with this first question for Misty and kind of get her take on it and talk about it a little bit is why do most new agents quit the business in the first 2 years? That's something that's common. And you see that they don't renew their license. What's your take on that?
A lot of it is due to leads. They don't, if they're basically looking for a brokerage to give them leads, to hand them leads, if they're not a hunter, so they don't go out and learn how to create business for themselves.
Which is a big deal. That doesn't just apply to just only agents, right? That's also investors. You got to learn how to
Correct.
you got to source your own leads. That's why this kind of ties together because it's not just agents. It's
Yeah, we
investors too.
see examples of that at the club all the time.
New
People,
investors, man.
there's
They
no deals out there.
Nope.
Well, what have you
Yeah.
done?
What have you done today? So, they're not a hunter. They just want to be an order taker. And there's a difference
Mhm.
in that, right? So, kind of explain that, Misty. Like, what do you consider a hunter and what would you consider an order taker?
Hunter is more of an entrepreneur and they want to get out and get the job done. Whereas that order taker just kind of sits at the desk and kind of waits for somebody to hand them a lead. Hey, follow up with this.
Yeah, they're the ones that are, it's the, it's the salesperson who was on, and that happens too. Some people they start out as a salesperson and they're hungry and then they become an order taker and they lose the dog, right? They lose that fight. They can't just keep going. So what is it that needs, why do they need to be a hunter? You can't, you need something, you need to have that fire, that entrepreneurial spirit, to where you're willing to go make it happen, right? And someone providing you leads, which, brokerages will just say, hey, we'll give you a lead. Or people look for, or investors, it's in general, the whole way through, people are looking for the easy way out, right? Give me the easy way, but that never works out. We have a story of an agent that was with us that was when we first opened the brokerage that we love. We love this individual. I'm not gonna name their name, but we love this individual. We felt like they were a good agent. They came from another brokerage. Kind of tell that story, Misty, a little bit about this individual and how, what they went through, where they started, what they went through, and they actually ended up phasing out and why.
Yeah, a very good agent has a lot of knowledge, a lot of skill, very good at talking to individuals. They were in property management, so great talking to tenants and talking to the owners as well, keeping a good balance so nobody's really upset at situations or anything. But yeah, in that position, they were pretty much just given properties to
Hmm.
manage. And so, great order taker, get the job done, good at the work. Just if you have to go and source your own properties to manage, that just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah. So what ended up happening though in 2020 hit, at that time,
Yeah,
and
he had been working for a company that, just handed him a book of business and here's your properties that you manage
yeah,
and you get a flat, you know, salary each month, and you just manage these properties. And
And he'd
everything
been
was
doing that
great.
for years
Yeah.
until COVID hit, and then they gave him the boot.
Yeah,
And then
they lost some of the properties they managed and stuff, and, had to go in and reassign everything, and he ended up having to go. So,
so he
then
went
he's
to
kinda out there on his own trying to make things happen.
originally went to a bigger brokerage. Actually, he went to Keller Williams for a while, and then we were like, "Hey, why don't you come on and work with us?" But Misty and I are very hunters. We're used to the nitty gritty, sourcing things and having to go find it, make it happen. And this individual wasn't, and it sucks because he was really good at what he did. He was very knowledgeable. We loved him as a property manager, which is why we're like, man, come work with us. But though I think one of the biggest disservices that was done was that they never were taught how to fish.
Right.
They were just fed, and that made it difficult because when things get difficult, right now, the time of recording this,
You can go hungry.
you can go hungry. The economy's getting squeezed. Things are happening. This is where, as the economy starts getting squeezed, that's where some of the most or the best companies are formed, and it's through the struggle, right?
Mhm.
It's never through the other way around. So you and I have started numerous businesses through the downside of economies, and usually the upside we're kind of it's not the same. But on the downside of the economy is when we usually started, our next venture.
Yep.
And so this individual wasn't able to make it through, and it's unfortunate. I hope they otherwise go back to it, um, but I think that was a big disservice on the brokerage's part in that sense of not giving them. But that was the brokerage's structure too,
Yep.
at the same time. So if someone's if anybody out there listening, you've got to become a hunter. If you become an order taker, an order taker. You're at the
Mercy of
mercy
somebody else to feed you.
of somebody else to feed. Absolutely, somebody else to feed you. Another thing we hear all the time is mentoring and training. They want mentoring and training, but those two are not the same thing, right? How would you, Misty, explain that?
So training, I mean, anybody can do training. You just, read on the subject, or there's maybe some online test, or, training modules for you to go through at your own pace or whatever. That is more training.
You're
Um,
training right now if you're listening to this podcast.
yeah. One of your resources.
Yes.
And then mentoring is more like real life scenarios. You're going through the situation right now, and you talk to somebody who's been there, done that, and they're walking you through the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. Because we hear that a lot. Oh, well, I want training and mentoring, but it's like, what does that look like to you? Well, I want someone to be there to answer questions, and then if they don't get there, and then the other part of that, though, I think, is not just the training and mentoring; it's taking the advice. So there's a terminology. I'm gonna throw this out here. We'll throw some. So all of my jujitsu homies out there that are listening, uh, there's a the other day I had someone say, "Hey, would you like to, they kind of called me out, want to roll?" And I was like, "Yeah, fine, man, let's do it." So after smashing them during the round, during the roll, they asked me a lot of questions, and they were like, "Hey, Story, how do I stop you from getting around my passing my guard? How do I stop you from, uh, you know, arm locking me and all this?" And I mean, I went in depth. I just the coach in me kicked in. And I was like, "Dude, you need to do this, 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 and that." And he was asking me a lot of stuff. And so when he asked me all these things, you know, my friend, my good buddy Alvarez is like, he tells him he's in 100% true. He's like, "Hey, you need to go and do this that story's telling you, because if you don't, he just wasted his time."
Yep.
And what that is that's a responsibility of the trainee to, go and take action on those things. Because if you don't take action and you just ask a bunch of questions, that's what I like to call an ask hole. You just keep asking and you're a hole of questions and you don't actually do anything. You're an asshole, you know, because That and we see that. We see that with agents. I see that with jiu-jitsu. I see that with anything that you're teaching someone how to do something, and that it's not the other person's fault. It's not it's not gonna be your brokerage's fault if you fail. That's the honest truth. If you fail, it's not the brokerage's fault. If you fail as an investor, it's not the house's fault. It's not anyone else's fault. Your mentor could have given you the best advice ever, and you look and you just go, "Okay," and then go do whatever you want. What would you say to that, Misty? Is
Yeah.
that pretty much right?
Yes.
Yeah. You know? So you don't wanna be an asshole. You can't you can train all you want, right? I love to I if anybody that knows me, it's I have a ninth grade education. Dropped out of high school, didn't pass the 10th grade. Um, and there's a lot of self-study. I'm sure Misty's tired of all the books we have at home. That looks like a library, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Story library.
Story library. I want a library. I want a library room, by the way, honey. We need to get that. I just letting you know, like, I want it when you walk
Gotta
in.
build that out.
Yeah, I got to build it out. So, but no, constantly reading, constantly learning. Um, you know, I mean, that's training, and that's not something that's done in person, right? It doesn't have to be. I mean, we've changed so much that that stuff doesn't have to be in person. It can be done through books, through podcasts, through videos, YouTube. There's so many resources. And as, Robin has talked about, we've had him on. He's like, all this stuff you can get for pretty much free if you just do enough research.
Mhm.
And I've done a lot of research, so and I've paid as well, but it's just a matter of, you've got to train and then you have mentors. Some of our best mentors don't even live here. One of them lives in California. He's been a long time mentor of mine, lives in California right now. His name is Randy, and Randy has been, was a big mentor of mine in business. And we've had video calls and things like that. But
And at some point, did he even live in the country?
yeah, yeah, actually, yeah, he was living in Guam, went back home. And, and so he and I have not seen each other in person for and we've known each other for a long time. I've known him since I was 18, 19. I was 19 years old. I'll be 37 next week. Show my age, guys. Um, at the time of filming this. So, but yeah, we haven't got to see each other in many, many years, but yet we stay connected because of this beautiful little item of your phone and the internet. And so, you don't have to physically be in front of someone to train or to be mentored, right?
Correct.
You mentioned something earlier on the way here.
Even the ones that do live close to you. I mean, how often do you actually see them? Everybody's got busy lives and everything. And it's just, especially after COVID now, it's just so convenient to do Google Meet or phone call or text or email.
Yeah. If you
Save an hour for driving back and forth. And
save another 20 minutes of shooting the breeze.
yeah,
Not saying I
just
don't like
get
shooting the
right to
breeze,
it.
but we can get in, boom, gets the next thing, boom, gets the next thing, and that's it. So, mentoring is it is a huge thing because you want someone who has experience. But I think, as someone who's, you know, looking to grow, don't be boxed into where I've got to be next to this person because that's not necessarily the case. But next to him is not necessarily what's going to make you grow. It's going to be asking questions because you're ready for those, right? Because I could what all day long tell, hey Misty, would you like to learn the subject too, and do a whole class on it? And then if you're like, I have no interest in that subject,
How much of that are you going to retain?
yeah, you're gonna use none of it, right? But if you come to me and you say, hey, Story, I need this help. Can you tell me this? You're gonna retain that.
Hmm.
You know,
Gonna take notes.
take notes. Why? Because of what? It's because it's a failure.
Hmm.
It's a mistake. When you make a mistake, when you make a mistake and you fail at something, you remember it.
Hmm.
That's why
And
I
you
like.
learn from it.
Yeah, that's why I like to compete because it embeds in your brain. That's just one of the many reasons, but it embeds in your brain. When you make a mistake, that's what I love about jujitsu or anything of that nature is it embeds in your
It
head.
bothers you to make you do better.
Exactly. Bothers you to make you do better. So, you got to ask questions. Don't blame it on the brokerage. It's not their fault if you're not succeeding. You have to take ownership of that. And if you do that, you should be pretty well off. And then you got to train. You can't sit and wait for someone to train you, call you up and be like, "Hey, can you show me this?" No, you've got to go go ask. You got to go get it and go learn. So, but man, real estate's changed. The other thing too that we hear is people talk about going into the office, but it's not like that anymore, is it, Misty?
Mm-mm.
What's it like now? What's real estate really like now?
Driving around and getting back to your chair so you can type in a bunch of stuff and send it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Electronic signatures.
Yeah, and you can close on a construction site writing on a trash can.
Mobile notaries.
I saw that on Facebook. In one of the groups, the guy's like closing on 2 deals today, and they took a picture of him. And I got the mobile notary, all the documents on the trash can. He's just signing it away, and I'm like, but that's what it is, right? You
Yep.
don't physically have to have an office anymore, right? In fact, if anything, what I would suggest to somebody is to have a space that's just your own. Like I have a little at home, I have an office where it's me and the dog, and that's it. Just me and the dog. No one's in there. It's comfortable and it's quiet, and I can just think and I can, you know, plan and I can execute. And you don't have any distractions from anybody coming in. I don't want anybody to come in actually. I don't. And, if you have an office, what happens is, the coworker comes in, they're just shooting the shit with you, talking about a bunch of stuff, and the next thing you know, you've burned an hour.
Time vampires.
Dude, it's time to suck your time. That's exactly it. Huh? Sesame Street just shows up. Instead of counting numbers, he's taking your time. But no, that's it. That's absolutely it. It's changed so much. Is there anything you can think of that has to be done in person?
No.
Aside from showing a property, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that can actually be done virtually too, from walk around.
That one's not as common. For your retail buyers, they would wig out, but your
Yeah.
investors are like, oh, dude, send me some pictures.
Mhm.
I saw something actually the other day on Facebook. Any agents want to go, or anybody want to go look at some houses for me? I'm like, I
Yeah.
looked where the person lived, and I'm like, I think they lived like in DFW, asking someone else in DFW to go do it. It's like, what? I was like, okay, sure, throw your name in the hat, right? Like
I've heard
some
of a lot
people,
of out of state
they
investors,
they do
get
that.
their agent to
Hmm.
go walk through on Zoom with them, put in an
It's
offer.
it is. I mean, it's just it's virtual now, and there's no. I mean, is there really a need for an office anymore?
No.
There's no need because I run through that for a second. Run through what you
COVID has
do.
proved that.
If COVID's proved it, right? But run through your like you and what you do with your leasing and or your buys and sells. Like talk about that. Like what's your process?
I have my phone, I have my computer, has all my um, MLS access and everything I need. And if I go out to look at a property, I just hop in my car and go. But other than that, I'm at the computer. I'm, running comps or going into the property management stuff to, move money around or um, calling contractors to go take care of a maintenance item, answering the phone if a tenant calls or, a new prospect or something. And I'm just right there at the computer. So if there's a new address, look it up, see where it's at. All right, let me run some numbers and okay, let's schedule a day to go look at it.
And that's it.
And it's all right there.
It's virtual. Virtual brokerages is what's happening. More and more brokerages are turning virtual because the office is becoming
If you need to sign lease agreements
useless.
or any kind of agreements, you just shoot them out. They
Yeah,
get them an email, click, 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 click.
because it's all virtual signatures,
Yep,
right?
get it back.
And that's it. And you can mobile notary, or you can choose to go to the title company, but you don't have to do that.
Hmm.
But when you have something under contract, that's another one that's probably, well, that doesn't have to be in person either. If you execute a contract, you can actually mail all of that in too. Is that right?
Yeah, some even accept like Zelle or wire transfers, and
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's not a requirement. Now I gotta share this. There is one individual that there's a client we love that is super old school. He's been in the game so much longer than a lot of individuals that we know. And he is so old school that Misty has to print and mail statements. Like And I think like today before
Statements and
today she
invoices.
had to actually meet him and give him a piece of paper. He doesn't do email. We love him though. I mean, I don't say that to make fun. I say that to say like it's just, there's that's the one individual that we know, and but they also are, they're I mean, like he has a flip phone, you know, and he's like I'll refuse to get with the times.
Yeah.
And I actually respect the guy for it 100%
I
because
remember speaking to him after the freeze stuff, and he's out there driving around going to a FedEx so he can fax something in to somebody.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, get off the roads.
off the roads,
Just email
man.
it.
Yeah, just email it. And you know what? He just doesn't want to deal with all the technology. So I respect him for it. I mean, I sometimes get on the technology part like, oh, man, it's too much. But long story short, brokerages are turning virtual. It's just what's happening, and it's really where we're at now. You know, another thing I see too is I wanted to point this out to anyone who's a new agent because there is someone who's actually that I follow who talks about this, and I agree with him. Is that there is a lot of narcissism within realtors. You're gonna think this is crazy, but think about that for a second. People are like, well, you got what? Your picture up, everything is, it's all about the agent, right? And this is just sales advice. It's all about the agent. The agent does what? They want to sell themselves. They're selling themselves. Hey, Misty, work with me because I can sell your house. Well, so can all the other people. You don't sell, you're the agent. You sell the house. You know, there's a difference in that. Your clients, as you listen to this and you're becoming a new agent, your clients, they want to know a few things, right? They want to know that they can trust the product, which is, and they can trust you and they can trust the company you stand behind, right? They don't really always care about you. They're not like, it's they want to know that the job can be done and that my neighbors down
You're
the street,
competent.
yeah, that my neighbor down the street sold, I mean, think about that for a second. My neighbor down the street sold for 100,000. The product is what? The house. Will my house sell for 100,000? They don't care who you are, right? They're not like, well, if I get to this person, they're going to make sure it's sold for that. No, it's me saying, hey, Misty, I know you're a realtor. My buddy sold it down the street for 100,000. Will mine sell for that? I'm asking you the question. I'm selling the house. And if you say, let me look it up. Yeah, it is. It would sell for that. And then I look at you and I'm like, all right, is she competent? Yeah, she's competent. All right, cool. Let's do it. Right? That's really the process, right? That's
Hmm.
really what happens. It's never the actual like agent. When was the last time you looked at a billboard and you're like, I'm gonna call them because they got a great picture. Right? Think about that for a second. I know some agents are gonna hear this, they're gonna be butthurt because they're like, he's talking about my picture, but it's the truth. There's a lot of narcissism that goes on in the industry and it just gets perpetuated. So if you are becoming a new agent, something to think about that you got to learn how to sell. And selling is not selling you, it's selling the product. And the product is, you know, what's my house going to sell for? Right? There's a difference in that. It goes a little deeper than that, but that's just a little something I want to kind of touch on. But I do want to talk about picking the right brokerage. We have these discussions with the new agents. So pick the right brokerage. Misty, I'm going to let you kick that bad boy off. So, one of the things is big brokerages have training programs, but you get lost.
Hmm.
Talk about that. Get a little lost in the process.
So they might have a broker that's responsible for thousands of agents.
Mhm.
And if you have, you're new, you have a lot of questions and stuff. I mean, are they really able to get to all thousands of those agents
Yeah,
in a timely manner
yeah.
if
You're
they all
just
have questions?
right. It's a lot of emails. They need an email inbox just for that.
Yep.
You get lost. You can get lost in the numbers and the shuffle. Happens all the time, and then eventually someone leaves that brokerage because they're like, well, it's just a lot. It was just a number. But they get drawn in because they're being told, oh, we have programs, oh, we can do this. We
Training.
we have
Lots of
training. We
good
have lots of
training.
training. They get suckered in with the training, but it's like, and they also promise you leads. Just because a
Mhm.
brokerage promises you leads, if you hear that, that does not, if anyone, guys, this is a sales thing. Any sales position that says, come work for me, I offer you leads, you are not a salesperson. You are an order taker. There is a complete difference. It's the same thing we talked about a minute ago. You will lose out and you will drown when it comes time that those leads go
Dry up.
dry. Yep, because they will dry up. You know, and I get this email all the time. I should probably put this person's name on here, but I'm not going to. But it's they're constantly sending these emails. I'm sure. Did you get one this morning? I got one too.
Mhm.
It's they basically are like, hey, we were looking for full time agents. We have tons of leads that we need to take care of and tons of clients, and we need a full time agent. Come work for us, guys. That is such a disservice to someone if they are truly a salesperson, right? If you're truly a salesperson, it's a disservice. And I think people have to understand that this is an entrepreneurial business.
Mhm.
I don't care whether it's investing, I don't care whether it's being an agent, it's entrepreneurial. And if you're not, you will get chewed up and spit out because you did not do the entrepreneurial work that was involved in that situation. You get chewed up, you get spit out, and then you go, I guess I got to go back to pushing buggies or whatever it was you were doing ahead of time. You know what I mean? Go back to your job that you were doing that you otherwise, and now you just think you suck. But it was did you suck or did you get a disservice done to you because they taught you to take orders? They didn't teach you to actually sell. They didn't teach you actually how to go make something happen and build a business and grow. What would you add to that, Misty?
That's pretty much it. And you got to decide if you're the entrepreneur, then don't go to the place that is just going to hand you leads.
Yeah.
You need to build your own business.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people that get confused and they're like, "Oh, I'm starting my own business. Can you give me leads?"
Right.
And it's like that's not starting your own business.
Anybody out there want to give me some leads? I'll start my own business. That's wild. But no, yeah, it's true. It is
Mhm.
100% true. You know, truth is, nobody cares about, the name of the big brokerage that, that you're with. The majority of the money you're going to make is going to be from your sphere of influence, the people that you're around. That doesn't go for just agents. That goes for being an investor, your sphere of influence. Everything you do is about the people you're around. No one cares about the name that's on the front of you, right? They're like, oh, well, it's this or that. Now, you can build a brand that represents something or whatnot. There's nothing wrong with that. I highly encourage to build a brand, but no one gives, no one cares that, what they care is, are you competent? And will my house sell?
Are you responsive?
Yeah. Yeah. Were you responsive? Yeah, exactly. Will my house sell? Smaller brokerages give you more attention. That's one of the biggest things I'll tell you. We're not a big brokerage, we're a smaller brokerage, and it gives you more attention. This is the biggest part. It gives you much more attention. This is a relationship business. Guys, anybody out there listening to this, I don't care what if you're an agent, investor, whatnot, and you guys, if you know, but it is a relationship business. And don't be fooled. I don't care how much money you have, and I figured this out on my own personally. I don't care how much money you have, you cannot just go throw a bunch of money at stuff and expect it to work out. In our martial arts academy, I know exactly what triggers to pull, what to do, boom, 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 boom. Real estate is not the same as other businesses where you can throw an ad up and then you get that because it's a competitive business. So you have to understand it's a relationship based business. I remember one time we built this tournament and I was like, I'm just gonna throw a bunch of money at it. Where's that money today, Misty? Because it's not it, right? Someone getting in the business and thinking, I'm just gonna throw a bunch of money at something, it never works out. It's when you build it slow and you build a relationship, that's the difference, right?
Somebody else caught it.
Yeah. Someone else caught it, right? Absolutely. Yeah. But that was one of the first, and that was so long ago, but that was one of my first experiences of doing a tournament. I remember it was, where this is like early, 2010, 11, 12, I think 12. Jake was little, I'm gonna throw money at it. And, it just, it's a bad mindset. Doesn't work, So understand that real estate is a relationship business. You have to have that relationship, and it's about the people that you know, and that's where you're going to make your money, right? And being able to sell their property for what they're hoping they can sell it for. Because if you can't do that part, and that's not always going to be your take. That's going to be the market, right? The Everything's selling for 150, but they want 200. You got to be like, man, buddy, I can't sell it for 200. It's just not going to happen right now. Doesn't matter how good of a realtor you are, it's not going to happen,
You can sell it 0%.
right?
Seller finance.
Yeah, I'll buy that
It
one.
all depends on the terms.
Yeah, I'll buy that one. You know, One thing that I will say that is an advantage is, and I know we try to do this, is brand consistency. Agents, you want to stay consistent. One of the biggest things that irks me the most personally is seeing EXP. I hate it because every sign looks different. We had someone tell us the other day, they were like, "Hey, uh, I never heard of EXP." Misty's like, "Because you never saw the signs, because they're
Mhm.
all different, right?"
Mhm.
But if you see certain signs, those signs, you're like, that's that brokerage.
When somebody says the brokerage name, you automatically in your head picture the sign.
hmm I think that's important. And I think if you're gonna, as a new agent, you need to understand that and not get wooed into the, oh well, I'm gonna, save that building it for yourself when you become a broker, right? Then you start building it for yourself. But
Mhm.
in the meantime, you're still building it for yourself
Okay.
because you're still gonna have your clients. When you go from agent's license to brokerage, broker, they'll still have your same license. It's not a big deal, but you're you're still gonna have the same clients, but you can start branding it yourself. But you can still brand yourself some too as well, right? They're like, oh, so and so's with that, but branding I think is important. But when it looks all hodgepodge, I personally don't like it. I don't know how you feel, Misty.
I agree.
So that's something we try to do in all of our businesses. But you know, it's one of those things that you've got to build. You know, it's a mindset of building your own business. At the end of the day, you know, you're building your own business, and things should not be handed to you. Right? It's just not it. Not handed to you. It's not. You have to go in the mindset of like, I'm building my own business. And if you do that, I think you'll be successful. So, man, anything you want to add to that, Misty?
Yeah, you just got to be a part of every process.
Yeah, exactly. You got to learn the whole thing. So, training, mentoring, leads, they're important. I think that's important whether you're a real estate agent or whether you're a real estate investor, or if you're going to go learn how to be a horse surgeon. Well, leads won't be, but the training and mentoring will be. But it's all the same. If you're gonna open a business, if you're gonna work for yourself, training, mentoring, and leads are important, and you have to take accountability for yourself to do that. So yeah, maybe a horse isn't good, but horse surgeon is not good unless you're gonna open a veterinarian clinic. So, but anyhow, guys, that is the show. Just wanted to cover that with you guys, and hope you guys got some good information on that. You know, train, read, learn, grow. Watch videos, read, listen to your mentors. Don't be an asshole. And and then learn how to sell. Learn how to, build leads.
And don't feel that the only way to get mentorship is in person.
It's not. It absolutely isn't. So, guys, if you feel like anything we've talked about either today or any of our episodes, we don't advertise. So, we ask one simple fee. That's what is it, Misty?
Share.
Share. Share the show. We're gonna fire Misty. Share the show. If share the show if you found something insightful, useful, or you learned something. But help us out. Let us help us grow, and we all grow together. We'll catch you guys next time.